Corn is a staple food used in many, many ways throughout the food industry. Growing it takes time, money, and lots of pesticides to protect the crops from bugs, vermin, and fungus. Now, some people think that pesticides made by big biotechs are harmful for humans, animals, and the environment, but that's okay. We've solved that problem. Our GM scientists are putting the pesticide right inside the crops. That's right. Isn't that amazing? The food itself will kill those pesky critters stone cold dead. We have absolutely no testing results to prove that these are safe, but they are. Trust us. We care.
DNA was discovered in 1935 by a Russian scientist. After 40 years, the idea of man-made DNA is proposed. In 1980, the first patent for a GMO gets approved, and within the next decade, GMOs start to appear on the market. By 1999, the market has embraced GMOs and is widely used. 2014, the patent expired. Green states have active legislations requiring product labeling for GMOs. As you can see, there are only 2 states that are green. Light blue states have no legislations passed or present, while dark blue states have active pending legislations. So let's take a look at Iowa. In 2013, there were 2 bills that were supposed to have passed, SF-194 and HF-463. SF-194 requires that consumer labeling information for food, providing penalties and including effective date provisions, while HF-463 would require food items to be labeled with information that identifies the food as genetically modified. And currently, there are no active bills. I would recommend taking a look at this website. Right to Know GMO is a Google search away.
So the key thing about GMOs is that there's DNA from multiple different species being forced together, and there's instability inherent in that process. DNA is a very complex, dynamic living thing that we still do not fully understand, and so this manipulation of it can have all kinds of unintended consequences. And as Becky mentioned, there's concerns about allergens and other health concerns because long-term safety studies have not been done. There are about 50 other countries around the world that have mandatory labeling of GMOs, and that includes all of the countries in the European Union, Australia, Japan, China, Russia. Most other developed nations have government-mandated labeling. The world's largest biotechnology company, Monsanto, is based here and has an enormous influence over federal policy, which is the main reason why we don't have labeling, unlike all of these other countries.
I got to admit, it drove me absolutely nuts how expensive organic food was. And so I looked into the business model. Crops that are grown through the organic process, which means without the use of synthetic chemicals, those guys are charged fees to prove that their stuff is grown without it. Then they're charged fees to then label those things as grown without it. And then on top of that, they don't get the insurance and marketing program assistance that these guys over here do. But then on top of that, because those seeds are patented, they now have a cost structure that's new too, because they have to pay royalty fees, licensing fees, and trait fees to even begin to plant those seeds on their farm. How are our American corporations exporting their products if these other countries don't allow these ingredients? And that's when I realized and found research that Kraft and Coca-Cola and Walmart, they are doing a remarkable job of responding to consumer demand in other countries. And they have formulated their products differently. So Kraft and Coca-Cola and Walmart, they don't use these ingredients in the products that they distribute in other countries. And as I reflected on the fact that we'd introduced these proteins, there had been all of this toxicity concern, I wanted to know, what are we spending on healthcare versus the rest of the world? The U.S. spends more on healthcare than any country in the planet.
Monsanto is a major player in handling GMOs. Upon contacting one of their representatives, they explained that there is no substantial harm brought forth to the environment or to the people. As far as labeling goes, they believe it would just be an extra cost that wouldn't serve a meaningful purpose.
Taking action has never been easier. Don't just sit around and wait. Exercise the right to be heard. You could start by supporting Just Label It and send a message to big companies. You can also join a movement and be a part of the community. Do something meaningful.